Hi everyone. I hope you all are doing great and healthy in your personal lives as well as with your family. So, today we are here to talk about the user accounts and the type of groups which we have in Microsoft 365. In the last session, I did explain to you that how we can add the custom domain name in Microsoft 365, which also should be the very first task as soon as you are onboarding your Microsoft 365 account, right? So after you have set up your custom domain name and the DNS records and also verified it, now let's go and see and onboard the user accounts. So right here on the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, I'm going to click on users here and I am going to go to the active users. And here in the active users list, let's click on add a user. Right? I hope you can observe the option right there. Let's click on add a user and let's start by typing a name. Let's say that the name of my very first user will be Alex. I'm going to go with Alex and let's type the username for alex@chavik.co, and I am also going to create a password for Alex. Guys, I hope if you can observe on the screen, you do have an option to either automatically create a password or to and enter it manually. I'm going to go with the manual option. You can always go with the default password if that is what you require. Now I'm going to click on next here, and after that we specify an initial location for the user, right? Guys, the location does not mean that the user cannot log in anywhere else apart from that location, right? User can always log in. It is just to specify an initial location for the user account. I'm going to go with United States here as of now, the default one. And now I'm going to assign the licenses. For now, I'm going to assign on all the licenses to this user, including the EMS and the Office 365 E5 and also Windows 10 Enterprise E3. Let's click on next, and again I'm going to click on next here and finish adding. And guys, my user account is ready. Let's close this, and as you can observe that my user account is very much ready. Right now, if required, we can also try and log in and just kind of make sure that the user account is actually working and this user also have access to the other services, right? So let's do one thing, that I have opened another incognito window here and I am going to log in to portal.office.com. Let's copy the Alex's username from here. That was like alex@chavik.co, and let's log in, right? Let me paste his password here and let's log in. And it didn't log in. Okay, let's see why is it not yet logging in. Logged in. So guys, you can force your users to change their passwords on the very first login if required. If you remember, I just unchecked that particular checkbox while creating the user account, but we can very well make it enabled if required. Anyways guys, that was just a simple login. As we can observe, the user was able to log in with using my custom domain name. Now let's come back to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, and apart from just creating a user account in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, I also want you to observe that Azure AD no, sorry, not Azure AD. Actually, I'm going to come to Azure AD in next 2 minutes, but before that I want to tell you that Microsoft 365 not only supports a normal user account, like with this domain name configured for this particular tenant, it also supports guest user accounts. But for creating the guest user accounts, we will anyhow have to browse to the Azure Active Directory. Now, guys, I'm very much not sure how much all of you are aware with Azure Active Directory, but I would just like to tell you that ultimately the database of the users and groups is almost same in the backend, right? Either you are looking from the Azure Active Directory page, or you are looking from the Microsoft 365 page. Ultimately the users will be same. Let's observe that now. Let's go to users and observe that my Alex user is exist here as well. Now now guys, as you can observe, there is a option to create a new user here also, and a guest user also. You could have asked me a question that I can create a guest user from here also, but I just want you to observe that ultimately it will take you to the Azure AD portal only. So that's why I just opened it in advance, and gonna close this for now. And on the Azure AD, I can click on a new guest user. Guys, there can be many reasons that you want to invite an external user into your organization's directory. Maybe he or she is an external auditor or a reviewer or someone to whom you want to give some sort of access to an application which your organization is hosting. So guys, here I am just going to invite my Outlook account, right? So I am going to type my Outlook email ID here, and within next 2 minutes you should be so when we invite a guest user account, the guest user account can see email, right? An email will arrive in his mailbox, using which he will be able to accept the invitation and log in into my Azure Active Directory or my Microsoft 365 tenants application. Let's write a personal message here. Hi, you are requested to join this tenant for application access, right? I'm gonna click on invite here, and you should be able to observe that this particular user's account will then be created in my Azure Active Directory. Plus you should also be able to observe that the user account does exist in the Microsoft 365 also. You can go to guest users section and observe that the user account exists there as well, right? Now guys, that was how to create the user accounts in Microsoft 365. Apart from creating the user accounts, Microsoft 365 also supports group accounts, or it supports simply groups. So right here in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, I can go to groups and I can go to active groups here. Guys, when it comes to Microsoft 365, we have 4 types of groups available here, starting with a very simple one, your distribution group, and going to the latest one, that is the Microsoft 365 group. We have 4 types of groups, and there seems to be an issue because the screen is not clear. Let me click again here, and right here it is now. So I'm going to start with distribution here, since that is the most simplest one. Guys, only and only for bulk email purpose you are going to use the distribution group. A mail enabled security group and security group. The agenda for both the groups is to assign permissions or delegate access in SharePoint and OneDrive services. The only difference between both of these is that the security group does not have an email ID, whereas the mail enabled security group does have an email ID. So you can create either of them when there is a requirement to delegate the access in SharePoint, OneDrive, or also the MDM services or Microsoft Intune. The last one here is Microsoft 365. Guys, this is a special type of group which you can create for collaboration purpose. Consider a project where a certain members of a team are there, and all of the team members wants to collaborate, wants to share a bunch of documents or maybe work on the documents at the same time, also called as co-authoring. Or they all want to conduct a meeting, maybe a video conferencing via Microsoft Teams, or simply instant messaging or chatting, and also drop emails or notifications via emails. So when all of these activities you want to bring together, it might be a very good idea to go with a Microsoft 365 group. The Microsoft 365 group is going to give you, as I have said, a email ID, a shared calendar, Microsoft Team services, and SharePoint services as well to store your documents. Let's give it a name here, and let me use the name here as IT admins. And let's click on next. You can add a description, but that's optional. Every Microsoft 365 group will have an owner, someone who can always add or remove members or manage the type of group it is or manage the membership. I'm going to assign an owner and I am going to assign the member as well. Maybe I can go with Alex here, or if you can observe, I can also go with the external user. And then I'm gonna specify the email address of the group. Let's specify itadmins@chavik.co. That will create an email address of the group. You can specify whether the group you want should be public or private. Guys, most probably you would never like that someone is able to view the information of the group or read your chats or receive your emails. No, right? You would never want to do that. So go with the public group only if you are okay with any user being able to join your team and see or read your conversation. So for now, I'm going to go with the private one, and the checkbox is already checked, which will create a team for this group. And let's create a group here. The group creation should be done any minute now, and I think side by side I just want you to observe that the same group should also be visible in the Azure Active Directory as well. Let's go to groups here and observe that my IT admins group is ready here. That's it, guys. That was about groups available in Microsoft 365. Thank you.